Well, hi there folks, it's Matt Hayson here looking at this week's property market. Now, if your head is spinning trying to understand what's unfolding with the cash rate and property prices, you are forgiven, because what you're reading from our banks, our financial institutions and our economists is consistently inaccurate. Let's look at the latest cash rate decision. The financial markets had factored in a 100% chance that the cash rate would be left on hold during May. Most of our banks and our financial institutions had also factored in that the cash rate would be left on hold. In fact, CBA were the only bank that had predicted the cash rate would be increased. And increased it did. It's up to 3.85%. We're now looking at 12 increases in 14 months and the highest cash rate in 11 years. Now, it was almost celebrated when the latest inflation data came through and it had reduced from 7.8% down to 7%, but it's still well outside of the target band of 2 to 3% for the RBA. Now, this decision wasn't a shock for Christopher Joy, who writes in Livewire, and the AFR, who had suggested that with previous rate lifting cycles, there was always a breather, and he expects that there will be further increases ahead. He also expects that if the cash rate does continue to increase, that we could be experiencing a dead cat bounce with the Aussie house price recovery. Now, while the CBA correctly predicted what the RBA would do by lifting the cash rate this week, the same can't be said for their property price forecasting. They are the latest bank to backflip and now have revised up that property values here in Sydney will be increasing by 5% to close out the year. CBA had previously forecast that Sydney would be one of the hardest hit cities, experiencing an 18% downturn by the middle of this year. In fact, all of the banks are tripping over themselves, revising their forecasts, and these aren't modest adjustments, they are significant. As we all know, the RBA was hauled over the coals for their misrepresentation around what they were going to do with the cash rate and also their misread on inflation. So you have to wonder why and when the banks will come under the same set of scrutiny for their misrepresentations to the public. And then finally this week, the listing levels, they are tightening up again. According to SQM Research, they are down 12.9% to close out the month of April. So we can really see that this low volume of property is underpinning values. The auction clearance rate last week, despite the low volumes, came in just under 55%, again according to SQM Research. And according to CoreLogic data, property values increased by 1.3% at the end of April. But with this latest move from the RBA, all of our experts are now out in force, suggesting that if the cash rate continues to increase, that could snuff out any house price recovery. So we'll have to keep an eye on what's unfolding. So hopefully I've made that a little bit clearer for you folks. That's what's going down in and around the property market. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you all next week.